Oh, hi. Welcome to another 5 Minutes with Harold Feld, where we take insanely boring and wonky things and try to make them slightly less boring because this stuff is important. I was going through my fossil collection, or as some of us still call it, the daily newspapers. As most folks have heard by now, there's a real worry that traditional newspapers like this are dying. And that means that people who see value in what we used to call the fourth estate, the idea of real in-depth traditional news reporting, are very worried that that's going to die out if newspapers die out. Well, for starters, I'm not exactly sure about the premise because, frankly, one of the reasons why newspapers are dying out is because they weren't doing that great a job of supplying us with real news. The internet is winning, if this is a contest, because I can actually get access to different news and opinions than I could just by going through these and other traditional sources. But let's say that these guys have a point, that we should be trying to prop up traditional newspapers because there's a real important social good in having these guys around, and we'll pretend that they were actually doing the job that they were supposed to be doing. Would the proposed changes help? The biggest proposals that you hear out there are, let's try to make money from Google News, Yahoo News, and the other aggregators as if somehow it's these things that are killing conventional newspapers. Usually this argument takes two forms. Either one, these guys are causing subscriptions to drop and the loss of subscription revenue is killing newspapers. Or two, somehow it's not fair that these guys are getting a free ride on other people's content, blah, 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 what we usually hear when old media collides with new media. The problem is, if you take the changes that people are talking about, things like micropayments for linking, changing the copyright law so that we prohibit effective search of news sites, they don't really solve the underlying problem. Newspapers are going under not because they get a lot of money out of subscriptions directly. A lot of papers give themselves away free because what they make their money from is advertising. The fact is, if you click through on a Google link or something like that to a page in the Wall Street Journal here or the Washington Post or any of these other papers, they're doing online advertising in addition to the advertising that they are doing in their print papers. So this is not eating into their advertising dollars unless we're going to start outlawing Craigslist in order to save newspapers. The problem we're really space shifting in this way, going from the print version to the online version, you wouldn't need to change copyright law. The problem is that news aggregators like Google and Yahoo let you find other sources of news that you like better. How do I make you buy this when you have a choice of other news sources? That's not a problem I think we ought to be solving by amending the copyright laws. The final argument that's made on this is some kind of equity argument. The notion that Google and Yahoo and others are free riders making their money off other people's content and that they should be subsidizing the newspaper industry because they make their money off of news aggregation. They're not free riders. Having and maintaining a system of aggregation that people actually use and therefore you derive revenue from ads and other sources is a very expensive proposition in a very competitive market. Aggregators are providing a service like clipping services used to provide, in that they're giving people something that they want. And they've actually found a revenue model that supports them in terms of online advertising. If you think that the New York Times, are subsidizing Google, then stop putting your stuff online or put it behind a paywall where nobody else can get it. But the fact is, the newspapers don't like that because when they tried to do it, they discovered that it didn't work. Because instead, what happened was you could pull your stuff out, but there were still lots and lots of people who were putting their news online, and people preferred to go and find the stuff in a way that was convenient for them. The bottom line here is that blaming the internet and the supposed freeloaders who are on here is always a great excuse when you don't want to have to rethink your business model or change your ways. It's absolutely true that newspapers are caught up in a major revolution in how we collect and absorb information and what that's going to mean for democracy. It's absolutely true that good reporting done right is critical for the maintenance of a democracy because without news, people cannot govern themselves. But it is also true that there are no free riders here. And what is killing the traditional newspaper business model right now is not Google or Yahoo or Craigslist. It's the march of time and technology and the fact that these companies thought that they were going to be able to have the same business model with 20% profit margins forever. They need to get over that and get with the times.